to the entire IEEE team that invited me. Thank you very much. So today the topic of my talk is about graduate studies in engineering in the US. I'm assuming that the bulk of the audience will be prospective students perhaps, and maybe their parents. Like they said, I'm Sudha Kumar. I'm based in Bangalore, and I work for the Viterbi School of Engineering at USC. My email address, in case you'd like to get in touch with me, is sudha.kumar@usc.edu. And if you'd like to reach out to the School of Engineering itself and our general inquiry number, email, this is the viterbi.gradprograms@usc.edu will work for that. So what I'm planning to do today is talk very briefly about the University of Southern California, a little bit about the Viterbi School of Engineering, and then I will go on and spend some time talking about the factors that you should consider while you are applying or considering different universities, how to apply, and give you a little brief window into what universities consider in an application. And finally, we'll talk about deadlines and perhaps maybe one or two slides about the current situation and what is happening in the US. The University of Southern California is a research university. It's one of the world's leading private research universities. We actually started in 1880. It has about 21 academic schools. So we have a very strong business school called the Marshall School of Business, a very good medical school called the Keck School of Medicine. Our Annenberg School of Communication is very well known, and the Viterbi School is one of these 21 academic schools. We have an extremely diverse student population and over about 400,000 alumni worldwide, and we are located in the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a very vibrant city. It has about 292 sunny days out of the year. But more importantly, Los Angeles is the center of global Center for the Arts, Technology, and International Business. It is home to something called the Silicon Beach, where we have a lot of startups towards the Santa Monica area. And we believe that USC has done a lot to create the startup ecosystem in this area. It's in very close proximity to Silicon Valley, where a lot of our students work, and the biotech hub in San Diego. One thing that not many people know is Los Angeles hires more engineering graduates than any other city. That is because we hire students across the engineering fields. So we have a lot of aerospace industries. So we hire aerospace engineering students and mechanical engineering, and of course, entertainment is a lot of it is technology. So we hire a lot of students from our computer science and electrical engineering in the entertainment business, companies like Pixar and so on. We also hire a lot of civil engineers and mechanical engineers and material scientists and so on and so forth, apart from computer science and electrical engineering. This Viterbi School, we are named the Viterbi School because we are named after Andrew Viterbi, the co-founder of Qualcomm, who happens to be one of our alums and a current faculty member. Our engineering program started in 1905. We have about 5,900 graduate students, which includes our PhD programs, 8 academic departments, and over 65 master's programs. We have 30 PhD programs. We are currently ranked number 9 according to the widely accepted US News and World Report ranking. And like I said, we are a research university, so we have about 45 research centers, and we are a leader in funded research. When we last checked, our annual research spend was over $185 million per annum. So these are our academic departments. In all of these areas, we provide education in the bachelor's, the master's, and the PhD programs. So new for 2019, we started a master's programs in electrical engineering and machine learning. This this was in response to a number of students with an ECE background or an electrical engineering background or a non-CS background who have been trying to switch to computer science. And because there are so many applications with the right background, a non-CS student finds it very difficult to get into the computer science programs offered in the US. So since we had the capability, we thought we'll make it easier on the students and provide a machine learning program within the School of Engineering, within our electrical engineering department. So students from the ECE background could apply to that. Computer science, we also have a new specialization in artificial intelligence. USC has historically had a very, very strong online capability in terms of delivery of our courses. We've never brought it to India, but for the first time, we will be allowing our students, if they wish, to take one semester starting in India. So if people are a little worried about how to manage in this new scenario, they could, if they want, remain employed if they're currently working and continue to take classes from here in India. That is, and then start the spring semester as an on-campus student. If you wish to learn more, the website to go to is uscengineer.com. So in the US, if you look at the column to the right, you will see the in-demand STEM programs in 2019. This is the ranking about popularity in the US. And if you look to the column on the left, you will see the programs that are very popular. It's not in any order of ranking to the left, but these are our popular programs within the School of Engineering. We do get a lot of students from India who come and join. So when you are considering graduate school, what are the factors that you should consider? Well, first of all, before you do anything, you need to introspect. You need to really understand what it is that you want to study. What is your career goal? And do you ultimately want to do a PhD? Because many of these factors you will need to understand thoroughly before you pick a university, because there are some universities where some of the coursework is meant more towards ability to do a PhD. There are some universities that have both types of courses. What kind of environment would you like? Perhaps you're a person who likes a quiet university town, or maybe you want a place that's bustling and it's a nice city campus which has a lot of activity going on. Maybe weather is an important factor for you if you don't want to stay in a place which is very cold. And sometimes the family would be the most important thing. Is if you have relatives and when your family wants you to be close to your relatives, then that will become a primary factor for you to consider as well. So really understand what it is that you want to do. What is your career goal? If you just want to go straight to industry, then make sure that you are going to a university that is based in an area where there's a lot of industry around. So some of the factors are coursework, faculty, location, reputation of the university. What are the career opportunities that the university can provide to you? One of the biggest things that Indian students find attractive in a master's program is its access to the job market in the US. Safety, RA and TA, on-campus jobs, and so on and so forth. They are a whole bunch. So pick the criteria that are most important to you, and then you can pick the universities based on your criteria. So start a spreadsheet. Start off with maybe about 30 or 40 universities there, and have different columns and start filling out the various columns. And after some time, you will be able to reduce the number of universities to maybe 10. And typically, students will apply to about 8 universities. You need to apply to at least 2 safe universities, universities that you think you will get into no matter what. A couple of maybe 3 or 4 universities where you think that you should be able to get in, but you're not completely confident. And then a couple of reach universities, universities that you would love to get into and you don't think that you have a chance, but it's not a bad idea to gamble and apply to those universities as well. So a spreadsheet is really, really important to keep you on track. So when you talk about coursework, that is, to me, it's one of the most important criteria. Does the university have a well-developed coursework and in the area that you want to study? So if you are applying to, say, mechanical engineering, or maybe you want to go into automobile engineering, you need to find a university that's really strong in that particular area. Is the coursework current and updated periodically? Do the faculty bring cutting edge research into the classroom? If your aim is a PhD, is the coursework suitable? So if you are interested in getting to the job market right away within the 1.5 years or the 2 years after you finish a master's, then it's really, really important that the coursework is relevant to the industry. So do your research, and there are many, many different ways that you can find this information. There are many student sites that you can talk to, you can write to the university, but more importantly, it is to look at the websites of the various universities. All universities have been trying really hard to make sure that there's a lot of information on the website. So if you wanted to find out about the coursework, what kind of industry tie-ups a university has, are the faculty consulting with the industries and so on and so forth, you can find that information on the university website. So you can go into the faculty pages, you can go into the department pages and the university pages. So do your research about the faculty. That is another very important criteria. The next thing is location. Location is super important as far as I'm concerned for a student who's graduating with a master's and wants to get into the job market. The proximity to industry generally translates to better job opportunities. This is particularly striking when the economy is in a downturn and jobs are hard to find. Location can also be important because of the weather. Maybe you don't want a very cold climate. One thing to remember, though, is that costs tend to be generally higher in large urban cities, but you can compensate that by taking on-campus jobs. What kind of career opportunities and efforts does the university make to make sure that you get a job? At USC, for example, we hold about 2 different career fairs, one in the fall and one in the spring. We have over 300 companies coming each time, all the top companies like Google, Facebook, or Cisco, or AMD. They will all come to the career fairs at USC. We also have on-campus company interviews. We have companies coming starting in, say, October to give information sessions. They're not hiring at this point, but they are giving information. A lot of times, these sessions are manned by our alumni who are currently working in those companies. We also help, we have an office that will help you talk about interview strategies. They'll review your resume for you. They'll help you understand what networking means and provide you with a lot of opportunities to network. Once you do get a job, there's someone you can take your job offer to, and they will tell you whether you need to negotiate further or if this is fine. So what is the ranking? Ranking sometimes is very controversial because some universities don't believe in the ranking system, while some students think. But by and large, I think ranking converts to a brand name, and the brand name should not be underestimated. And if a university is top ranked year on year in a particular in the US, then chances are that it is very, very good. So do look at the rankings. US News and World Report, you can start with that. It comes out each year. It's probably the most accepted ranking within the US. So it will take a look not just at the university ranking, but also the school's ranking, the school within the university. But it does give you an edge in your resume. Safety and the college life is another thing that you might want to look at. How safe is the location? What is the university doing to keep students safe? What is the vibe in the campus? You know, at USC, for example, there are ball games, there are free concerts, there are free international movie festivals. All kinds of guest speakers come on campus. There are musical bands that come. There are book fairs. Then over 750 clubs within the university and so on. So, you know, check out the life within the university that you are after all going to be spending about 2 years over there. So you do need to look into that as well. The other important thing, especially for Indian students, is on-campus jobs. While doing an on-campus job is not ideal, you know, your GPA will probably be much better if you're not doing an on-campus job, but it is an economic necessity for most Indian students. So you need to see our jobs available on the campus. In California, for example, as an F1 student, you are allowed to work about 10 hours a week during the semester. And the minimum wage in California is about $150, is about $15 per hour. A strong alumni network is another thing that's really important because a lot of alumni will probably give you a lot of help when you're looking for jobs. Some universities are particularly known for their very strong alumni networks. How much does it cost? That is a really important criteria. So whichever universities you're looking at, you can look at a university within your price range, but which has the best coursework and so on. Okay, so what is it that universities look at when you are applying? What are the application criteria? So for an MS and even for a PhD requirements, it is pretty similar, except for one difference with the PhD application. We are looking for a bachelor's degree in engineering, computer science, math, or a hard science. A hard science could be like physics or chemistry. So we don't need to see your marks for the 10th or the 12th. Right? There is an application fee for most universities. The GRE, general exam, is required, and every university has different criteria. Some of them, many universities don't have a minimum. A lot of some universities do have a minimum, so you'll have to check it out on their website. At USC, our average quantitative score, and this is average, it's not a cutoff, is about 164. Official transcripts should be uploaded on through the online application. So the transcripts again are not required to be for the 10th and the 12th standard. It's only your bachelor's degree. So if any of you are only up to your 7th semester or 6th semester, you can still apply. And we realize that it takes time because the application process itself takes a lot of time. So you will likely be asked for a resume or a CV, and also you'll have to write a personal statement. And apart from that, they could be other supplemental material depending on the program. For international students, you do need to submit the TOEFL or the IELTS. Either one of them is very important. Apart from that, the US government requires all international students to provide something called the financial statement. So you need to submit that to the university and make sure that, and once the university sees that, only then we are allowed to generate the I-20. So most universities have deadlines that are similar. Our deadline is, we have two deadlines. One is a scholarship deadline and the other one is the final deadline. For spring, it is August 31st and September 15th. For the fall 2020 program, uh, we've already passed this deadline, but for fall 2021, the deadline would be December 15th, and finally, the January 15th. And finally, for the PhD programs, if you want to get into the fall 2021 program, we only have one deadline, and that is December 15th. Now, earlier I said that there was difference between master's and PhD. So for a PhD program, what we are looking for is, apart from your transcripts and your GRE and so on, we are also looking for something called a research statement. A research statement is really something that you'll have to work on in great detail. You'll have to talk about the areas of research that you're interested in and why you're interested in that particular area and what your ideas are to work on this. So it takes some time. You'll also have to identify faculty who are within the university that you'd like to work with. So what is the current situation? COVID-19 has really impacted all educational institutions. In our university and in other universities across the world, we have switched to online classes for the current semester. At USC, that has not been too hard for us because we are fairly familiar with the online process. We do have an online program that I talked about earlier. So what's going to happen in fall 2020? We are a little unsure at this point. We are waiting to see how things will progress. We are offering it. Some universities have said that they will not. For example, Brown has announced that it will be scrapping its fall 2020 semester completely. But most universities have said that they will offer the fall 2020 classes. But what we've done is given students extended deadlines to decide. For USC, our admitted students have to decide by June if they will be coming in the fall 2020 session or not. So these are really, really tough times, and all the universities are scrambling to adjust to new requirements. So we will be required to provide social distancing to the students. We'll have to have some quarantine facilities. We'll have sanitization of very large areas. So, we've started making those changes, and we are generating online I-20s now. Earlier, we were only sending them via Federal Express, but now we are doing online I-20s. And we are spending a lot of time answering the questions of very confused newly admitted students. The US consulate is also closed till July. So we are not, they are also grappling with issues of how to reopen, and when they do reopen, what are their processes going to be? Are they going to have people come in person to the US consulate to apply for a F1 visa? They are not sure about that either. So we are hoping that we will get a lot more information by, say, end of June. So the jobless rate in the US is currently at an all-time high. We expect the situation with the jobs in the US to improve back to earlier levels in a couple of years in the tech industry. So if a student were to start in the fall 2020 or the spring or the fall of 2021, by the time they graduate, things should be okay with regards to internships and jobs, is what we are currently thinking. So I've actually come to the end of my presentation. Best wishes for your future endeavors.
Mouse with a keyboard or
So if you do want to get in touch with us, you can write to viterbi.gradprograms@usc.edu. But if you'd like to reach me, it is sudha.kumar@usc.edu. Thank you so much for listening patiently to this. If anybody has any questions, if the moderators would be able to get those questions to me, I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, definitely. Sudha, it was very insightful session on the programs and the curriculum of University of Southern California that you have shared with us. There are few questions from the student community on our chat window, so probably like we would be taking it one at a time, and you can answer it or probably like as appropriate go about that. So the first question is which website the students can refer for ranking of US universities for higher studies?
So I think if they just did a search for the US News and World Report, they would be able to find the ranking. This comes out every year. Just do a Google search on US News and World Report.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is very specific to data science. Student wants to know that which university is best for data science in US, as he is from ECE background. Can I be able to face the difficulties in data science as like basically he wants to know which is the best university for data science in US?
Well, that's a tough question to ask a person. I may be, I think USC really has a very, very strong data science program. So within data science also, we have data science that is meant for people who want to work in places like, who want to do the analytics, who want to work for Goldman Sachs or Ernst & Young and places like that. And then we have the traditional data science, which is a computer science program. So with an ECE background, I would caution the student to be very careful about applying to pure computer science programs only. You should apply to a few of the universities which are very strong, including USC. But apart from that, just be a little careful because getting into a computer science program, which is where data science typically falls in with a non-CS background, would be you have to jump through a few extra hoops. So do your research on that. I think the universities like Carnegie Mellon, Computer Science, USC, Georgia Tech, all have good data science programs, and there are more as well.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question would be related to the campus jobs that you did mention while presenting us through today's session. So are on-campus jobs alone enough to cover the tuition costs of the course? Is a question from one of the students.
Right. On-campus jobs will, the minimum wage differs from each state in the US. So in California, which tends to be the highest, it's about $15 an hour. But for the rest of the states, some of them could range from somewhere between $12 to $15. And you're allowed to work only $10, 10 hours a week as a F1 student. That's all that you're legally allowed to work on campus. So it will not cover your tuition, but it should cover your living expenses. If you live in a place where the living expenses are high, then it may partially cover your living expenses.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next one would be about the LOR, letter of recommendations that you did mention. So the student wants to know that how many LORs are required as part of application. So probably if you can throw light more on that, I think it would be helpful.
Right. So typically it's about 3 letters of recommendation. One thing that most universities would like is academic letters of recommendation, more than, say, someone from the industry. So if you're applying typically to an engineering area, we would really like to see more academic letters of recommendation than maybe some letter from your internship in a company. But if you cannot provide that and you think you have a good letter from someone from the industry, we'll accept that as well. But I'm just telling you what our preference is in general, and this is across all universities in the US. Um, then it doesn't matter whether it is the vice chancellor of the university writing the letter or a lecturer within your university. We would actually prefer the lecturer's letter if he's able to talk about your specific academic strengths. Rather than a letter from your vice chancellor which says so and so is a student of good standing, or some generic letter like that. So we'd like a letter which talks about your strengths, and say, you know, this student provided a really good project report that really impressed me, or she was in the top 10 in the class, or or she really asked insightful questions, and so on and so forth. So a specific letter, and typically about 3 are required.
Also, a follow-up question on the same is, would the university be taking into the consideration the online recommendations like we have on LinkedIn and others professional sites?
No, we don't take those into account. We have an online application, and what we will do is we'll ask the student to provide us with the names and the email address of the referees, and then the system will automatically write to them and request a letter of recommendation. So only in rare cases we will follow up on a student and do some additional scouting about the student. So no, we will not go and look into LinkedIn because the number of applications are just huge. So for most universities, that would be very difficult.
Perfect. I understand. Thank you for that answer, ma'am. So the next is probably if you can share some details on the postdoc area as well. So there is a query with respect to postdoc. As predominantly we have seen through the slides that it was focused on PhD and master's program. So probably if you can share some insights on postdoc also, it would be great.
So the way the postdoctoral scholars work within the US is that the faculty members will directly do the hiring for them. So there'll be specific projects that are funded by their research grants in which they need help. And when they get these large grants, and to support a postdoc, you do need a fairly large grant, they will advertise, typically through their network of contacts, academic contacts. They will reach out to other professors across the world. They will at times advertise for a postdoc. So, and the faculty member will decide if a person is right for him. So that is really hard. It's rarely centralized within a particular university. So it's not like a university in the central area would provide a listing of all the postdocs available within the university. So it's a much more decentralized process with each faculty deciding how they want to advertise it.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next question would be on the online courses that the USC offers. So it would be on how much on an average would be the tuition fee for a course in USC? And if we opt for an online course, how about the lab sessions and how would it be managed?
Right. So just want to tell you that our online courses are the same cost as an on-campus course. So at USC, we don't make the distinction. You get exactly the same degree as a student who is going to be on campus, and there's no difference in the price. We've historically had these online programs, and the way it started was in the 70s, the aerospace industry needed coursework, but they just didn't want to come all the way to the campus in downtown area to have online classes. So at that point, we actually ran wires from our campus to Lockheed Martin or Boeing, and in Raytheon, and then and beamed our classes to them way back in the 70s. But then since then, we've become more and more sophisticated. And then, of course, the Wi-Fi. And so our programs, we actually had people in bunkers in Afghanistan take the course and just come on our campus only to graduate. So the cost for the course, whether you take it from India or other places, would be the same. And if they are classes which have, so we've never done any courses so far that have lab requirements here in India or across the US. We've only done that in the US. So the two courses that we are offering, the few courses that students can take would be the entry-level classes that any student who's starting a master's program would have to take. These are required coursework, and they don't have a lab session attached to them.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really helpful. The next question really is on the cultural barriers that the student face when going from India, especially to US. And the question is focusing on would it be difficult for an Orthodox Indian student to survive there, be it the food culture or the religious barriers that they have between India and US?
Right. Well, there are differences within the US. I think most universities, campus, wherever they are, make it a point to be very welcoming to their students. In Of course, when you go to the middle part of the US, I think things would be much more different. But if you come to places like, say, New York or Los Angeles or Chicago or any of the big places, students should typically adapt quite well. Indian students, my experience has been that they adapt very well to our university. We do a lot of things to make sure that the students acclimatize during the first semester, first week itself. We have the welcome events, a lot of ice-breaking events that we have, things like a treasure hunt that they'll have to do along with a whole bunch of other students. Maybe we take them on a trip of Los Angeles. But basically, we try to do a lot of things to make sure that students are comfortable. As soon as they join, they become part of the VSGA, which is one of our graduate student associations, and make sure that they are part of that. There are temples in Los Angeles. It's a drive to get there, but there are temples. Vegetarian food is very common in the U.S., especially in California. Vegan food is even more common. There are grocery stores, Indian grocery stores, very close to the campus. You can just walk across. You can get everything from MTR masalas to LG hing powder to all kinds of very, very, things that you need in an Indian kitchen. So I think whether you are Orthodox or whether you're religious or whether you are just a very um, um, a vegetarian who's very particular about staying vegetarian, it really should not be a problem.
Wonderful. Thank you for that answer, ma'am. I hope that the students would definitely feel encouraged to get into one of the universities. So the next question would be on the CGPA, and also I am combining that with IELTS and GRE scores. The questions are around, is there any cutoff for CGPA for entering into USC? And also the same for IELTS and GRE. So does USC have any recommendations or cutoff that they would be looking to admit a candidate for the MS programs or even the other programs what the university offers?
Right. So our minimum CGPA to get into USC is a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. So we will not consider anybody below that. But what happens is, as the university is higher ranked and better known, the more selective they are. You know, it also depends for us, it depends on the student pool. So if we get a lot of students applying to some particular programs, then the CGPA tends to be much higher. For example, computer science is really a program that gets, you know, a lot of applications. So our CGPA for computer science tends to be a little higher than maybe for some other programs that we may have. So our cutoff is a 3, but anywhere we admit students anywhere from a 3.3 all the way to a 4.0. In terms of GRE scores, we do not have any cutoffs. So even if you get less than, say, you know, maybe some score somewhere in the 200s, we will still consider you. Obviously, there should be other criteria which are stronger to balance it out. But our average incoming scores, and again, I'm emphasizing the word average, is about 164 quant and 155 verbal. So we have students, so that makes it about 319. But we have students who have scored higher and have not been admitted into the university. And we have students with less that we have admitted into the university. So GRE is not the only criteria we're looking at. Obviously, it is a factor that we do take into consideration quite seriously. In terms of IELTS or TOEFL, we will accept both. The IELTS cutoff is 6.5. For TOEFL, it is 90 overall, with a minimum of 20 in each section. Both of these scores for the IELTS or the TOEFL is really not very high. That's because you are engineering students and you will be coming to do a technical field, and you're not writing there to write long essays about anything. So, you know, relatively speaking, the scores are a little lower than what maybe are required for maybe for our business students and maybe for our communication students and so on. So we just want to make sure that you can communicate with the faculty member and you can understand what's going on in the class.
Perfect. The next question is again on the on-campus job employment. So there is a question which asks that is there any selection criteria for campus employment?
You know, USC is the largest employer within the city of Los Angeles. So we really have a lot of different jobs. And you can apply to anything. Typically, engineering students, computer science students, and engineering students of any background, whether it's civil or you all have certain skills that are valued across the university. So you will find employment in, say, the medical campus where someone needs you to come up with a website, or you'll find a job. We have labs, you know, computer labs across the university. Maybe we need for you to do some network administration. Maybe we just need for you to sit there and make sure that students aren't walking away with their keypads, or you know, or with equipment. Libraries will have jobs where you'll have to reshelve books in the library. So there are many different kinds of jobs, and the criteria basically are, they will ask you what your availability is, and they will just want to make sure that you are sincere and able to work during the hours that we need for you to work, and you have the capability. As soon as you go to the university, make sure that you have you start looking at going to the cafeteria, looking at the notice board, look up the campus newspaper for advertisement. I think the biggest way of getting a job is networking with your seniors when they will have jobs and they will know about openings within their areas. So that is how you will find an on-campus job. But at USC, if you do want an on-campus job, you will get a job. It shouldn't be that difficult. Some of the jobs like grader positions and so on are very nice. Also a job that is in the library, you know, just checking people in is great, because then you can do your homework along with doing your job. Of course, all jobs are not paid equal. While the minimum wage is $15, if someone was doing the work of web designing or maybe being a network administrator, they would probably get much higher.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is on, I'm not sure if you want to take this, but anyway, I would read it out for you. What are the requirements for faculty in India to get into US university?
A faculty position?
Right, yeah.
Right. Um, Generally, I think you do need to have a PhD, and you will be competing. Getting a faculty position in the US, especially in a top university, can be extremely challenging. Just so you know, we get over 300 applications to our computer science department or electrical engineering department or our civil engineering department. And of those, I think typically I've been seeing about maybe three or so get hired. So it's very, very competitive to get academic positions in the US.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is particularly on scholarship. What about the scholarships provided by Indian governments to graduate in US?
So I'm not sure about what scholarships that the Indian government has. I don't have that information. Our university does provide some scholarships. We don't give a lot of them, but they range from $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and up to $20,000. If you apply by the first deadline that we have, which is the cutoff, which is the early application deadline.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is on how about work integrated or part-time higher studies offered in electronics? Is there something that USC would do for that?
Right. So, as a F1 student, and when you come to study in the US, you will be on the visa status of an F1 student. You are not allowed to work off campus for 2 full semesters of being there, so about a year. So, if you were to start in the fall of 2021, you cannot work off campus in a company. Then you cannot also work off campus in another company in the spring of 2022. The first time you'll be allowed to work off campus would be in that summer of 2022. And most of our students, they do take on internships, and they will work in a company for the 3 summer months. Sometimes, and is a company will be giving the student a very, very interesting project, and they want to continue with that for another semester. And times like that, if the student really requests and it looks like it's something that the university thinks is a valid request, then we will allow the student to do that by giving them a minimum load approval. So you have to be, as an international student, you have to be very careful that you don't violate the requirements of being an F1 student, your visa requirements. So yes, most students do an internship. Either it's a research internship or they work in companies. And most of the time, engineering students tend to get paid internships in the US. Were there any other questions?
Sorry, like I was really speaking on mute. Yeah, okay. So the next question is typically on the cybersecurity domain. So the question is around job opportunities for cybersecurity in US.
Right. A lot of times, students tend to think that cybersecurity will have a lot of government regulations and it's only governments that are hiring students, but that is not the case. All the top universities need cybersecurity experts, and we do have students who get positions in companies like FireEye and so on and so forth. And not just that, even companies like Google will hire students with a background in cybersecurity.
Thank you. So I'm just like looking in the chat window if we have any more questions. So, but it's for the first sem students, are they permitted for campus jobs? Is one of the questions.
Yeah, as soon as you enter the US and you come to campus, um, you will have to acquire a social security card. You'll have to apply for that. And as soon as you have the temporary card, you're allowed to work on campus for up to 10 hours a week. And the kind of jobs that you can get, like I mentioned earlier, were maybe in the cafeteria, cleaning tables, or it could be being a network administrator or a grader working under a professor, and so on and so forth. All kinds of different jobs.
Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am. I guess like we are almost on dot 7, so we would be wrapping up this session. So once again, on behalf of IEEE Bangalore section, we thank you for spending your valuable time with us and educating the students, and or rather like providing more insights on the courses that University of Southern California offers. Before we close, are there any final remarks or tips that you want to share with the student community?
Well, I'm assuming that many of the people in the audience are maybe students who are thinking of applying. I know things are hard right now, but use your time and apply. Keep track of deadlines. Apply ahead of time. As an international student, it's better if you apply a little bit early. Um, we will be doing a lot of webinars and so on and so forth. Feel free to connect with me. And don't worry about how you will perform over there. Generally, I see that Indian students are doing very well in our university. So when we do the screening, we make sure that we get students, we admit students who we think who will be successful. So if you are admitted to a particular university, don't doubt yourself. You will go there and you will do very well. So good luck. And not just that, it's not just the studies, but the American education experience is really a fun experience, in the sense that it changes your life. The way you study is very different. The kind of expectations of you in terms of understanding different concepts are different from India. I meet alumni all the time, and they always tell me that the 2 years that they spent at USC were the best times of their lives. They worked hard, and they had many night outs, but despite that, they remember it and they cherish those times.
Thank you so much. Before we wrap it up, I request all the participants to join us for tomorrow's session, that is Mind Hunter, Decoding Cyber Threats Using Mind and Computer by Mr. Sham Sundar Ramswamy. So with this, like we would be wrapping up today's session. Good evening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed chatting with all of you.
Pleasure is ours, ma'am. Thank you.